All right, we have 6 o'clock. Is it? Okay. 6 o'clock. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Pascoe.
Here.
Jesperson.
Here.
Nielsen.
Here.
Stark.
Here.
Delahoyt is absent.
Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry for getting not to sit here.
1C, acknowledgement of the Open Meetings Act poster by the South Entrance. Adoption of the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for a vote.
Motion carried 3-0.
1E, approval of consent agenda items.
I move that we approve the consent agenda minus 1.f.ii proclamation declaring March 2025 as Problem Gambling Awareness Month.
Second.
Call for a vote.
Motion carried 3-0.
1F, proclamations and presentations. 1FI, proclamation honoring Women in Construction Week, March 2nd through the 9th, 2025. Proclamation of City of Waverly, Nebraska, 2025 Women in Construction Week, National Association of Women in Construction, NAWIC. Whereas the NAWIC Greater Omaha chapter has distinguished itself for 61 years as the voice of women in construction in the state of Nebraska and the city of Waverly. Whereas the work done by the NAWIC Greater Omaha chapter has benefited state of Nebraska through community development and educational programs and the city of Waverly. Whereas the NAWIC Greater Omaha chapter has unceasingly promoted the employment and advancement of women in the construction industry and the city of Waverly. Whereas the construction community represented by NAWIC Greater Omaha chapter has been a driving force in fostering community development through renovation and beautification projects, promotion of skilled trades careers, and a positive vision of the future and the city of Waverly. Whereas the NAWIC Greater Omaha chapter has sought to achieve successful results for state of Nebraska and surrounding areas in a cooperative spirit with other organizations. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Abby L. Pascoe, Mayor of the City of Waverly, Nebraska, do hereby recognize the NAWIC Greater Omaha chapter and its many dedicated volunteers for its steadfast work on behalf and support of women in construction, and do proudly proclaim the week of March 2nd through the 8th, 2025 as Women in Construction Week, and encourage our citizens to congratulate the organization on its many accomplishments. Proclaimed this 25th day of February, 2025. Okay, 1FII, Proclamation Problem Gambling Awareness Month. Whereas the National Council on Problem Gambling has designated March 2025 as Problem Gambling Awareness Month. Whereas problem gambling is a public health issue affecting millions of Americans of all ages, races, and ethnic backgrounds. Whereas problem gambling has a significant societal and economic cost for individuals, families, businesses, and communities. Whereas problem gambling is treatable and treatment is effective in minimizing this harm to both individuals and society as a whole. Whereas numerous individuals, professionals, and organizations have dedicated their efforts to the education of the public about problem gambling and the availability and effectiveness of treatment. Whereas the National Council on Problem Gambling invite all residents of Waverly, Nebraska to participate in Problem Gambling Awareness Month. Now, therefore, I, Abby L. Pascoe, Mayor of the City of Waverly, Nebraska, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2025 as Problem Gambling Awareness Month in Waverly, Nebraska, and encourage all citizens to support the National Council on Problem Gambling in their efforts to mitigate gambling-related harm nationwide, dated this 25th day of February, 2025.
Did you all vote on the first one?
Do we vote?
on proclamation?
Can't remember whether you don't have to. The mayor can just make the proclamation. So I'm okay if you don't. I mean,
Okay.
the mayor can just issue them, so that actually you can just read them and we can just move on. But you pulled it off consent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to explain why?
I don't know. I was at pull up.
Do you want me to explain why? Because one was not on consent and one was, and,
Consistency.
for consistency. Yeah.
No need to vote. The mayor gets to issue edicts like this whenever she so desires.
All right.
Kind of like an executive order.
It is kind of.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, 2, Communications Tower Regulations, 2A, public hearing and amendments to the Waverly Zoning Regulations, Article 4, relating to communications tower regulations in the zoning district. Starting at 6:05.
Anyone here to speak on the public hearing for the
Brandon Koll,
communication towers?
12200 North 148. I wasn't planning on speaking about this, but the other item's not on the agenda. So I hope that we get some consideration if a tower is proposed on the land across from us. I assume that's probably where it's going to be in the north. I don't know if you can divulge the proposed area or whatever, somebody that contacted you guys before. But the only city property big enough to hold a tower that's 100 foot is the land where the treatment plant is, to the south of it, that cornfield you guys went out. So we're directly across from it. So I hope if that is proposed that we get a say in it, at least a voice in it, to be heard if the proposed tower is put there. That's all I wanted to say. Oh, and is it a coincidence that the gambling thing was on the same day that Keno Reports are?
That wasn't one.
Thank you, Brandon. Anyone else like to speak at this public hearing? All right, we will close the public hearing at 6:06. To be consideration of first reading of ordinance 2501 to amend the Waverly Zoning Regulations.
I move to consider the first reading of ordinance 2501 to amend the Waverly Zoning Regulations, Article 4, relating to communications tower regulations in the zoning district.
Second.
Discussion.
Can we just go over briefly what we're really doing here is amending the regulations on where they can go zoning wise. Do we have a brief explanation of what changes are?
So currently, for the zoning regulations that we have, communication towers were only allowed in limited industrial zoning by special use permit only. So, what we did was we added general industrial also, which is actually heavier use than limited industrial. So it would, there's some reasoning that it should be allowed in both. It's still with a special use permit. We also added that it could be on any city-owned property. Frequently, these kind of towers will reach out to communities first to see if there's public property that they could go on. The setbacks will still remain the same. They have 100% setback. So if the tower is 100 feet tall, it has to be at least 100 feet away from any property line. So none of that has changed. All of it will happen via special use permit. So they have to apply through a special use permit. It has to come to the planning commission and be approved that way. And if the planning commission so chose, they could put in extra requirements if they so wanted to.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, call for a vote on the first reading.
Motion carried 3-0.
3, Sheriff's Report.
Oh, good evening, Mayor, Council, Deputy Brown, Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. I do not have much at all.
That's good.
Just been blessed with the weather. I've got some irons in the fire, but nothing that's gonna really impact our citizens. Pretty calm, quiet. Let's hopefully it stays that way. We monitor Highway 6 quite a bit, so I had a couple more actions. It's kind of a hot button.
All right,
Any questions? All right, thank you.
thank you. Number 4, public comments. Is there anyone here from the public that might like to make a comment on a non-agenda item? No. All right, 5, approval of minutes. Consent agenda. 6, consideration of claims and financial reports. 6A, claims for payment.
I move to accept the claims for payment in the total of $117,758.92.
Second.
Discussion? Call for a vote.
Motion carried 3-0.
6B Keno and sales tax is there for your information. 8, introduction of ordinances. 8A, consideration of first reading of ordinance 2502, amending chapter 52 of the Waverly Municipal Code relating to sewers.
I move to consider the first reading of ordinance 2502, amending chapter 52 of the Waverly Municipal Code relating to sewers, and the effective date.
Second.
Discussion? We are just changing, we noticed Megan caught a mistake on a date, or on a month, so we're just changing the month. All right. Any questions? All right, call for a vote.
Motion carried 3-0.
There's no introduction of business communications. 10, community reports. And A, Councilmember Stark.
All right. So for the Parks and Rec, Scott has been working on the trees in Maine, which has been an ongoing project. They are going to top dress the ball fields soon at Lawson Park within the next couple weeks. Hopefully, high school baseball is looking to begin practice in the next week. Shayna is working on separating teams for baseball, softball, and soccer. She is also doing the weekly trainings on Rec Deck, which is the new pool software. They are interviewing for the pool staff and seasonal park staff. So if anybody needs a job, go ahead and apply for that. And then glassball and t-ball signups are going on right now through the end of April. Sorry, early April.
Thank you. 10B is Public Works. Do you have anything for Erin?
Do.
Okay, great.
Tracy's been working on scanning documents from the old project files into the computer system. They plowed snow on Wednesday the 12th and resalted the roads on the 13th. At the pre-construction meeting with JDO and K2 about the Danvers Oak Lane water main replacement project. They plowed snow on the 17th for 6 hours and salted the arterial streets. Then they cleaned up all of their vehicles and equipment afterwards. Sent out project letters to the people on Oak Lane and Danvers to let them know about the open house that we just had for that project. Had some issues at the wastewater treatment plant with the extreme cold temperatures last week and had some equipment that froze up. And so they've been working on getting that all started back up and cleaned up now that the weather's back and warm. And they moved some equipment out to the wastewater treatment plant.
And I would like to thank Tracy and his team. They did such a wonderful job last week with the snow, the ice. I think they always do a wonderful job, but they did it again.
When I got back Sunday night, the streets were fine.
Yeah. They
Missed
were.
all that.
All right, 10C, Public Health.
I don't have anything newsworthy to report other than I ran into the fire chief at the Daddy Daughter Dance this week.
Oh.
So it was nice to know there was EMS on hand just in case. Yeah.
Perfect. 10D, Fiscal and Economic Development.
Nothing to report.
All right. 10E, Seth.
I was at a conference the last couple of days, had some good sessions there was a session on sales tax revenue and LB 840. Also another session that I went to that talked about grants for traffic grants for road projects and such. So it's just great to connect with other communities. Did have lunch today also with our senator. So that was nice to talk to Senator Ballard.
Awesome.
All
right.
He was good.
Good.
11, adjournment.
To adjourn.
Second.
Call for a vote.
Motion carried 3-0.
614.